Hey, this is Gale Nelson, President and CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters Miami, the host of The Game of Life, where everybody makes the team, but how you play is up to you. Welcome to The Game of Life. I'm Gale Nelson, President and CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Miami, and I'm pleased to have with me today a friend, family, not only personally, but within the Big Brothers Big Sisters realm, alumni little brother and two-time Super Bowl champion, Darrin Smith. What's going on, brother?
Oh, Gale, man, thanks for having me, first of all. Just excited to be here with you, brother. Always glad to sit down and chop it up and talk with you, my man.
Oh, I tell you what, time won't permit us to go over everything, but Darrin, it's always a pleasure, regular on the show. And here we are, Darrin, on day 2 of the NFL draft.
Wow.
And let's go back in time a little bit to when you were drafted. What year was that? And just kind of walk through that experience, Darrin, of being drafted to the National Football League.
Well, I was drafted in 1993. And, it's funny, I always get excited about the draft, even though I'm a long way away from it. But I get excited because I think about the changes in the lives these young men are about to have. I enjoy watching the draft, not just to see where guys go, but, you see the families around them and you see the celebration and you see the happiness. And, the reality is these young men's life are about to change forever. I know it happened to me. I was here in Miami during the draft. I was at my mom's house here locally in Miami Gardens. And I remember I was just being so excited because leading up to the draft, I talked to a few teams who made me think they were going to draft me. One of the teams that I didn't talk to very much was the Dallas Cowboys. And so I thought I was going to go somewhere else. All of these experts had all these projections of where I might go. And I pretty much thought I would either be a Pittsburgh Steeler or a Minnesota Viking. But on draft morning, and I don't know if they still do this, but I think probably then Jimmy Johnson pushed the envelope a little bit. He called me that morning and said, "Hey, I have a guy in town. He's one of our scouts. Is it okay if he comes by?" And I'm like, that seemed kind of weird, having a guy from the Cowboys organization, so he came in, sat in my living room and was just like, "Hey, let me know if anybody calls." I'm like, okay. I wasn't really sure how to react or respond to it. And so, from time to time, I went into the draft started and I'm in the family room with the family. We're looking at it. And unfortunately, I didn't go in the first round. So it was it felt like it was
a long wait, isn't it?
Yeah. It felt like it was forever. But because when Dallas had a pick that came up in the first round and they decided to trade out of it and they got 2 picks in the second round, which I became one of those picks. And so it was me and Kevin Williams, who's also from the University of Miami.
That's right, wide receiver.
Correct. So we were those 2 guys who went in those spots. But it was funny, Gale, because I was waiting so long. I didn't go to sleep the night before because I'm just like, oh man, I don't know what's going to happen. You really just don't know. You're going to be in one place one day, and then right afterwards, you're going somewhere else. And so I didn't sleep well, so I was tired. And I fell asleep during the draft. And my brother came bringing a phone to me. "Darrin, wake up. Coach on the phone." He said, "It's Coach Johnson." And I didn't believe him. I thought he was playing with me. I thought they were like trying to prank me. So I got on the phone, and I'm like, "Hello. Hey, Darrin, this Coach Johnson." I perked up real quick. "Hey, Coach, how you doing?" So he said, "Hey, man, we're going to take you with the next pick, and just welcome to being a Cowboy. Put the owner, Mr. Jerry Jones, on the line, and Mr. Stephen Jones." So it was just like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. My uncle, who's probably the biggest Cowboy fan, he was so excited. He was just so happy that I went to Dallas because he has a blue and silver room in his house just for the Cowboy memorabilia.
So fanatic is the appropriate term.
Absolutely. And so it was just amazing just to be able to spend that time with my family. Everybody was so excited and just wondering like, wow, now what's going to happen? How's it going to be? And so when I look at the draft, man, and I see those families jumping all over those guys, it's just a special time. I mean, it's a special moment in their life, and I just get excited all over again for them.
So Darrin, so you didn't have that couch moment. Your head was on a pillow.
Absolutely. The draft is a little bit different now. They play it up real nice now.
True. That's true. So social media and all that other stuff. I mean, this was prior to all this.
I didn't have the cameras. I mean, we didn't have all the cameras like a lot of the guys have now, right in your living room. So
that's true.
Yeah, but it's still, hey, for me, it's like reliving it again when I see how these guys go through it now. And so it's just, man, it's amazing. It's an amazing time in any young person's life because of the work and the commitment, the sacrifice that you put into it to get to that point, and so you see it finally paying off. And the beautiful thing about the draft, I went in the second round, but a guy like Jesse Armstead went in and at that time they had eight rounds. Wow. He went in the 8th round to the New York Giants, but he turned out to be all pro bowler, all those things. Right. And so you never know, where a guy might the success a guy might have regardless of where he's taken in the draft. And that's one of the great things about life and one of the great things about sports, because it really is one of those things where you can get knocked down. You might not be starting where you want to start, and you might not be where you want to be. But if you're given that opportunity, man, you can blossom. And so it's just great. So the whole draft is going to be a great thing for a lot of those guys.
What I love about it, and you do, I mean, that's what's great about talking to you, Darrin. We're here at the Game of Life where everybody makes a team, but how you play is up to you. With two-time Super Bowl champion Darrin Smith reliving his draft moment, if you will. Although waking up and having Jimmy Johnson on the phone, that's not a bad way to wake up. And I'm sure Jimmy has a way of waking folks up as well. But to your point, Darrin, it's not so much where you start, it's how you finish, as you just said. And so there's some future Hall of Famers that were not drafted in the first round of the National Football League. So your point is definitely well taken. So last night, first round, what stuck out to you? Of course, the couch moments and seeing these kids, literally these young men, celebrate with their families, with their loved ones. But what stuck out in terms of just the talent? I mean, so much talent. We know that. But what stuck out in your mind last night, Darrin?
Well, I was saying to myself, as much as I hate to admit it, man, that during the SEC is pretty strong, man. They had like 15 guys drafted in the first round.
15 from the SEC. That's got to be a record, I'm sure.
That is a record. And it's just right now, a lot of the talent all over the country is gravitating toward the SEC. And, I look forward to that time when the ACC is just as competitive. We're not quite there. We got a couple teams in our conference that I think will compete, but from head to toe, I don't think we're there at the SEC. And you look at the coaching staffs that those programs have, and but I look at a guy like the coach at LSU. He started at Miami.
That's right.
He was our grad assistant.
Really?
When I was at Miami, Ed Orgeron was holding up the cards just like a young pup. So he was just getting his feet up under him at the University of Miami. So I would like to think that had some part to play in, the success that he has now. And it's always good to see, those guys, Tommy Tuberville went through the SEC. He was at Auburn and Ole Miss. And so, we've had some coaches who were able to go out and be successful in the SEC. But, yeah, the thing that stood out was definitely the talent level right now that some conferences have. And, and so, as a Hurricane guy, man, I'm hoping we can, one of the things I saw was we had a guy like Jerry Jeudy, who's a local guy here.
Local guy.
Yeah, I'm looking at the local guys that the young man who went to the University of Florida, the cornerback.
Yeah, Henderson, he's right from down here. And so Henderson down here.
And Henderson was actually a guy who committed to Miami initially and changed over to Florida. And I'm always saying to myself, man, what would have happened if we could have had, we'd have kept him home.
No
and if you look through the draft in the last few years, and you think, man, what if we could have kept some of those guys home, man?
There's no shortage of talent in South Florida. I mean, as I'm looking at all these guys on couches, I'm saying Miami, Florida, with these huge.
Every year you look at the Bushes, who's right here at Pembroke Pines, and I mean it's just year after year of players from South Florida who, you know, it just like you say to yourself, man, if you can make it down here in South Florida, you can make it anywhere because
You can make it anywhere.
it is deep down here. It is deep.
And so that's a far cry from back in the day. Hopefully we can get back to that. But back in the day, I mean, you talk about, I mean, who didn't want to come out of that smoke for the University of Miami? I mean, so again, so for all the high school talent out there, if you will, and we're not recruiting, let me be clear. This is a mentoring podcast. I'm asking the question. I'm not a coach. I'm not a recruiter. But Darrin, just so these kids who have all these dreams and aspirations and little brothers, because keep in mind, as we think about, you know, the draft and right here in Miami, you know, of course, with the Miami Dolphins and Tua that was taken first round draft pick. We got an alumni little brother that you met, Joshua Jobe. Shout out to Joshua Jobe. He'll get a copy of this. You met him at the gala, and he was Tua's teammate last year. So we're in the business of producing champions. I'm talking to a two-time, well, not only just with the NFL, but how many national championships did you win? Speaking of college ball.
Actually, I just happen to have them right here in my.
You brought some bling.
So we won two national championships. This goes out to Josh. I know you're gonna see this, Josh, and I know you probably got a good chance to win one yourself at Alabama. But it would have been another local kid that would have been great to have right here from, you know, Miami, Columbus. Let me stop recruiting, Gale. Let me stop.
So no, put those rings up on the screen so we can see that. Put those rings up. See, that's what, bring it back a little bit. There you go, right there. See, that's what success looks like. And so now the one with the number one on it, what year was that?
That was 1989. This was the very first one that I was a part of, and this was my redshirt freshman year.
Okay.
And so, that was at the Sugar Bowl, and we beat Alabama.
How about that?
Yeah, right.
Beat Alabama. And who's your quarterback? Who was your quarterback that year?
Craig Erickson was the quarterback that year.
Erickson was a quarterback. What about that second ring?
This second one was like not the 91 season, and we beat Nebraska right here in the Orange Bowl, shut them out. And in that year, it was no doubt about it. You know, we were the best team that year, and that was Gino Torretta, who was our quarterback that time, and he won the Heisman that year. So we were thick that year. We went into the next season undefeated as well. Unfortunately, we lost that last game against Alabama in the Sugar Bowl again. So they kind of got
okay.
Yeah.
So you go from there. So from a national championship, 91, and here you are drafted, you know, second round by the Dallas Cowboys. You go to the NFL. So talk about from a mentoring standpoint. Here you are a rookie in drafted in 1992, right?
93.
93, my fault, 93. And so once you get
like 92, 93 season, you're right.
That's right, 92, 93 season. Mm-hmm. And so who mentored you on the team? Because that 93 Cowboys team, was there any bling associated with that season at all?
They had just won the Super Bowl the year before I got there. So they felt, you know, that team felt pretty good about themselves. And so, you know, I think looking at me, they were kind of just looking at me as, you know, maybe some depth, not necessarily needed to come in and make this team great. They just won the Super Bowl. They beat Buffalo in California. I think it was 50-something. It was a blowout. And so I got to go back to the local talent here. There was a young guy named Godfrey Miles. He was a local student at Carroll City High School, went to the University of Florida. And the previous year, he was drafted to the Dallas Cowboys as well. And so the interesting thing is me and Godfrey grew up in Miami Gardens. So we knew each other before, during college. We played against each other in high school. And so, again, that goes back to the local talent. And so when I got there, man, that was my guy. You know, he took me in, man. He, you know, took care of me. And because the interesting thing, Gale, is when you get drafted, you go to this city and you're expected to be a grown-up now. Hey, you got to go find some place to live. You got to go put these lights in your name. You got to go put the water in your name. This stuff I had never done before. You know, I'm a college student. I'm still used to, you know, dormitory living, the calf living, and all of a sudden you go from a boy to a man, and you're in the real world. And you got to pay bills and get all these things done. And so, you know, Godfrey was the one that kind of helped me out. So he definitely mentored me since he went through the experience the year before. And even on the field, you know, I learned a lot as far as how to watch film, how to study, how to prepare, how to train, how to work out. You know, we have coaches that do that, but it's always good when you have another player who's there with you, who you can trust,
Right.
who you know. And so Godfrey was definitely my guy.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And then when you think about stepping on that field, having your teammates, your peers, your mentors helping you out as well. And something you mentioned in our last podcast about just the work ethic. And this is a message to our littles, just the work ethic. Because you have top talent. You're drafted onto a Super Bowl winning team, but work ethic. So who were some of the hardest workers on that team, if you will? Because you had some A-listers. You got the people that go down in history, NFL legends, if you will. But I think there's a message to our littles, Darrin, as you know, in terms of just putting the work in. Nobody gave you that. You worked hard, and you were drafted at the University of Miami, drafted onto a Super Bowl team. But who are some of the hardest workers on the squad?
The first person that probably anybody on that team would say is Michael Irvin. This guy is just, he puts the work in. He stays late. He does the extra things that, you see a big personality on TV, but little do you know how hard he puts the work in off, on the field as well. And I think that's why he does such a good job as far as commentating and the colorful way that he is. Him and Troy, those two guys, man, those guys were hard workers and perfectionists, and they wanted it just right. And just watching those guys, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, Deion Sanders, Kenny Norton, Charles Haley. And these guys, you're talking about Russell Maryland. I was just absolutely blessed to come to a team like this. I was used to coaches kind of coaching guys. I was not as used to players being very vocal with other players. You know what I mean?
There you go. Getting you right before the coach got you right.
Troy Aikman will go off on receivers if they're not running that route correctly. Michael Irvin and, really getting into guys. I was like, wow, they weren't worried about being guys' friends. They wanted to win. Now, off the field, hey, man, hey, we love you, hug you, great. Hey, we friends. Let's go eat, go hang out. But on that field, I learned you better get it right.
I love that, Darrin, because that's a championship mentality.
Absolutely.
Everybody you mentioned is either in the Hall of Fame or future Hall of Famer, Darrin, and those were your teammates.
Absolutely. You talk about guys holding guys accountable. It wasn't the coaches, it was the guys. And that was why we won. And, as I went on and continued to play in the NFL, we didn't have as many on other teams that I played on, and I never went to another Super Bowl after I left that team.
It's different, isn't it?
I saw the difference. When I saw that our best players were our hardest workers, that made the team, as great as we were. Because remember, they won it in 92 with Jimmy Johnson. I was a part of the 93 team. We won with Jimmy Johnson. Barry Switzer came in 95, yet we still won it again because the team was player-led, not necessarily coach-led.
Mm-hmm. What a message. And again, as you coach in youth sports, as I coach in youth sports, when you can have a team that is that locked in, a team that believes in holding each other accountable as opposed to look at me. And there's a different generation coming up now, Darrin, where you score a touchdown, right. It's all about me, but put in the work and hold your teammates accountable. And who cares what everybody else thinks? This is a we thing. That's a powerful message in terms of championship mentality for our littles as well.
Amen. And you know what that gets you, Gale? They get you a couple of these.
Oh, wait a minute now. Wait. So this is like show and tell day. So wait, hold that up again now. So we're talking about Super Bowl.
This is the 93 Super Bowl ring, and this is the 95. This was against Buffalo in 93. This was the back-to-back ring. We beat them out in Atlanta. And then this was the 95 ring. We beat the Steelers out in Arizona. And this is what happens, man. It was definitely worth it. The work that we put in. And the interesting thing, Gale, I come in as a young buck, and I'm seeing how those guys work, and it causes me to say, wow, I got a standard to live up to. I can't be the one that slack off.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, that was the great thing about being on a team like that.
And Darrin, I tell you what, here we are on the podcast with two-time Super Bowl champion, two-time national champion, Darrin Smith, alumni little brother, talking about a mentality. And Darrin, as we all are on the same team, regardless of race, regardless of socioeconomic status, all of us are dealing with COVID-19. And so when you think about a global pandemic that, obviously none of us have experienced before, if you will, some of that same mentality of accountability and social distancing and all of that. So talk to us a little bit from just a mentality standpoint on how you're staying safe and what your message is for everybody out here today.
Well, personally, for me, I have to stay extremely safe, because in the past I've dealt with cancer, and I've had treatments that have knocked my immune system and caused it to be very low. And so I'm extra careful. I'm extra careful as far as really not going anywhere. If I have to go somewhere, it's like a double mask and all those type of things. And so I just want to encourage everybody to continue to stay safe. Don't take it lightly. Don't take it for granted. I just want everybody to be healthy. And so, for me and my family, we've just been, just focusing on doing the right things, washing our hands and staying safe. And so, one of the benefits that I've seen in this situation is really allowed us to have more family time, to grow closer, to have opportunity for conversations about what we're going through and how does it make them feel, and how we should respond, and how can we look at it. And another big thing is, how can we help others?
That's right.
Encourage others. It's not just about us. It's an opportunity. And really, I've had in this situation, there's a lot of people who I haven't talked to in a while, who I've been able to reach out to, or who reached out to me. And so it has, in some situations, strengthened some relationships, some bonds that hadn't been strong in a while. It also gives me an opportunity to help somebody that I haven't, that may need some help. It also gives me opportunity to be humble and receive some help. People have been generous toward us as well. And so it is really, the perspective is really what's important while we're going through the situation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So no, that's excellent. And it's interesting picking up new hobbies and spending that family time. You're a former tight end, safety, and defensive end, Brandon Joshua Nelson. He's in the kitchen right now baking some beignets. Subway tossed flour, so he's done some shrimp scampi, beignets. So so I guess the mentality with Brandon is like, well, if I don't cook it, no, he'll eat. But he's picked up. He's quite the chef, Darrin.
Hey, actually, man, I've been on that grill a whole lot more. We've been grilling it up like 2-3 days a week. It used to be like once every couple of weeks. Maybe I get on the grill, but now it's just, we grilling everything, and it's I'm getting good.
So we can hone our skills.
That's right. Practicing. Right.
Practice makes it. So let me just ask you this, Darrin. Here we are, and as a brand, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, we keep our kids. We're keeping our kids connected, keeping our littles connected. We call it Keep Kids Connected. And through that, we're still making matches virtually, meeting just like this, still doing our background checks, everything else. But one of the things that we've talked about, and I'm happy to share with our audience today, that with Project 59, I want you to tell us a little bit more about Project 59, why you started it. Then we'll have some exciting news to share about what we want to do. Despite socially distant, we can still do some creative things promoting literacy with our littles. So go ahead, tell us about Project 59.
Well, Project 59 is a non-for-profit foundation that was created strictly to promote literacy in our young people. Back when I was playing with the Seattle Seahawks, I visited a school. I was reading a book to them and just spending some time with them. I loved it. And, one of the things that I realized, I don't know what's going on with those kids anymore. I've had a chance to spend a little bit of time with them, but then I've moved on. And so wanted to create a way to have something that, can be ongoing and actually we could know how kids are doing. And so that's how Project 59 got started, really, to just encourage kids to read, but also encourage parents to read with their kids. And, really promote the importance of that. And that's been going on since 1998. So we like 22 years into this. And as each team that I played for, I was blessed to play for 4 teams. In Dallas, we were able to have a program there. In New Orleans, I was able to have a program there. In Seattle, we were able to have a program, and as it continued to flourish, other cities got involved. We've been in Atlanta, Columbus, Georgia, and for sure down here in sunny South Florida with Big Brother.
There you
Big
go.
Sister.
I was waiting on it, brother. I was waiting for you to get
I
to
know
Miami.
know.
You went all the way around the country.
I had to let that one be special, so because it was after I retired, coming back down to South Florida, that we were able to link, and we did our first Super Bowl event together over 10 years ago.
Right.
And from then on, it's been a relationship that has been outstanding and continuing to grow, and I'm still pushing. Project 59 to me is just like that team that I had at Dallas. It's all about everybody pushing each other to be our best. If we're not all successful, none of us are successful. So it's all about being accountable,
Yes.
and using the blessings that we've received to make sure that other kids have that same opportunity. As I mentioned, it's great to see these guys go through the draft, but you're talking maybe only 300 guys at the most, 200 something guys at the most. What about the rest of those guys that don't get drafted? And they're going to have to use their education. And the reality is, Gale, even if you get drafted, the average NFL career is 3 years. So if you go to the NFL and you're 22 years old, you're retired by 25. And so for me, I was blessed to play 12 years, but life still goes on after that, and you still have to have your education. And I had the opportunity to go, and I know we might talk about Northern a little bit later. Before the shutdown, I had the opportunity to go and speak to the football team at Miami Northern Senior High. And one of the things that I just stressed to them is the importance of their education. Scouts were coming to South Florida, especially a hotbed like South Florida. If you don't have the grades, they're not even going to waste their time watching the film, because there's thousands players like you here in South Florida.
Yes, sir.
So you have to make yourself different. Number one, you have to start out with those grades. They have to say, okay, this is a guy I don't have to worry about. I don't have to worry about having to get him in. Is he going to make it? If I recruit him and spend all my time watching him, at the end of the day, is he going to get into our schools? And so that's why, even if you're that type of guy who can get drafted, we got to focus on that education. And that's kind of where I came in, and really wanting to push young people to be the best in everything that they could be, whether it's athletics or whether it's in the classroom.
Well, I tell you what, Darrin, it's interesting. Let's do a little scouting talk. It's the intangibles that prevent a lot of these players. This is not too much of talent. It's not your 40. It's not your vert, if you will. It's not that you can catch a ball. I mean, in South Florida, that's as plenteous as the sunshine. Exactly. It's the intangibles. You see what I'm pointing, Darrin? It's the intangibles. Having your mind locked in, your disposition, being able to interview, your focus with Project 59 on literacy, our focus on mentoring. So not only are you a great athlete, Darrin, but you're a gentleman. You're respectful. I've met your beautiful mom. I've met your family, met your wife, met your kids. So it's the total package. And so, as a coach, would you rather have somebody that's willing to work hard that you can help get better, or do you want the talented kid who already knows he's so good that he doesn't work? Which one you going? Which one you suiting up, Darrin?
Give me that kid that want to work. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the one that want to work. And you know what, Gale, it makes me think back to me being involved as a little, me coming into this program. I had a big brother that I think is I've learned a lot from him, Seymour Marksman. Seymour was kind of that coach. He want to work you.
No doubt about it. Big brother Seymour. Shout out to Big brother Seymour.
Yeah. He want to work you, man. And I'm thankful that I have a mom that taught me to be respectful and to respect and to listen. And because the more I listen, the more I realize, wow, this guy is he really cares. And what he's telling me, the things he's telling me is because he wants the best for me and he cares for me. Same with my mom. The same with my family. And that's why I like to give back to these young people, because the things that was passed on to me, I'm just trying to give it back to them, so that's why I always, big brother, big sister would always be a special part of my life, because my life literally was changed through this program, through the connection that I have with Seymour.
And I tell you what, Darrin, and thank you for mentioning Seymour, because that mentoring that he provided and still provides to you,
yes,
and what we're doing with the current littles. And I just can't help but notice, speaking of current littles, over your right shoulder, there's a golden football. Yeah. And it's talking to me, Darrin. And tell us about that golden football with that 50 on it. What do we have there, brother? This is show and tell with two-time Super Bowl champion Darrin Smith walking through his draft journey and also his journey as a little brother. Talk to us.
Yeah, this 50, the NFL had this 50th anniversary some years ago, and what they decided to do is everybody who participated in a Super Bowl received a gold 50 anniversary for Super Bowl 50, received a golden football. And you know, the beautiful thing about it is it's really nice. They have your name on it and all that stuff. They even have your high school, Miami Norland Senior High,
Miami Norland
Gardens, yeah. And so I got a ball personally. But then they also shipped one of these balls to my high school. They shipped it to New Orleans, and we connected with New Orleans. And so I was able to go to New Orleans and kind of have like a short program where I presented Coach Darrell Heidelberg and the football team their golden football. So it was just a great moment. And you know, I really appreciate the NFL for reaching back and allowing us to go back and impact our schools and acknowledging where it all started.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I love about that, Darrin, and a shout out to the Miami Norland Vikings. Darrin, we have hundreds of littles at Miami Norland right now. So definitely a shout out to Miami Norland. And with that, I love what the NFL did and its current Inspire Change program, really focusing it on communities, primarily inner city communities, helping these kids, where a lot of these kids are growing up, dealing with challenges, Darrin. None of us are exempt from challenges, but making that investment early. And that's the message, mentoring. So Darrin, I look forward to, and I want to let everybody know, we're going to work on this literacy campaign starting in May. We're going to do it through the digital medium as everybody's, socially distant and being safe, washing their hands, as you talked about. That's a good coaching, Darrin. We want to make sure that everybody stays connected. So is it as simple as just gets for the folks who are viewing with us today? You encourage every one of the littles to read a book, or what's the kind of the measurement of success, if you will?
Well, we still want to be able to have the digital where they can go on digital,
yes,
and somehow still have something tangible.
Yes.
Somehow, either through creating my library or something like that, because one of the things that we want to give the young people is ownership as well.
Yes.
But also accountability. And even when we first started out with Project 59, one of the things that we wanted to have a digital presence, and we were able to create program on the computer, which would allow some of our kids to work that way. But as we found out, as we went through this shutdown, and our schools had to be shut down, that there were a lot of people who didn't have computers. There were a lot of young people who didn't have the exposure to the computers, and so that's one good thing in this digital age. It has allowed more people to be exposed to computers, and so we want to be able to continue to push that, because really that's the future. The virtual. I mean, I can't tell you how many virtual meetings I've had in the last 2 weeks.
Oh, I hear you, brother.
I'm zooming out. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
Yeah.
Before we zoom out, Darrin, I just want to thank you for the partnership. We will keep this thing rolling. The championships we're building through mentoring, through coaching, through accountability. And the championship are these kids succeeding in life and taking care of their families and doing what they need to do, as you are, because you're truly an inspiration to us, Darrin. So I'm going to let you get the last word over here on the Game of Life. Two-time Super Bowl champion Darrin Smith, going through his draft journey. But Darrin, close us out, brother, with whatever message you have for all the littles out there, for everybody that's listening to us today.
Hey, well, Gale, what we want to do, man, we want to continue to have a draft, just like the NFL is having a draft. Big brother, big sister, Project 59, we're going to have a draft. And we want to, be able to have our young people be impacted. Just like I said, these guys' life are going to change. We want lives to change for the better through literacy, through grades, through education, through computer literacy, understanding all those things. We want our lives to change so that they won't have a short NFL lifespan, but they'll have a long career span, and they'll be able to reach back and help other people and keep this thing going. And so we want this to be generational, going on and on forever.
So we are recruiting the next generation of bigs. You heard it live from Darrin Smith. Here we go. So it's and on this team as mentors and bigs, BBBSmiami.org. Sign up, become a big. We'll get you involved with this partnership. Project 59, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. The draft continues. And Darrin, I'm going to peek at it again tonight. It's like a national football holiday with the Michael Jordan's last dance and now the draft. It's been a good sports week for our sports fans out here.
Absolutely. And I've been hungry for something.
We need something, brother.
I've been watching old stuff, you know.
Well, Darrin, let me say this. Let me ask you one last question. As you were growing up and playing football, you talked about those who mentored you once you got into the league. But growing up, who was that football player? I don't think I've ever asked you this. I've asked other athletes and other champions in NBA and NFL, but who was that NFL player? Maybe it was, I'm assuming it was an NFL player. Who was that athlete? Let me make it more general. That you said, that's who I want to be like. Who was that?
There's no doubt about it. LT was my man. I wanted to be Lawrence Taylor, man. That was the guy I looked up to. And I'm gonna tell you, Gale, it was a dream come true that he played so long, because my rookie year was his final year.
Wow.
So I was on the field just looking at him like, man, that's LT. So I'm like starstruck. I'm in the league too, but I'm still starstruck. And I'm looking at LT like, wow, I can't believe I'm on the same field with this guy. So, you know, I was always a big fan of his, just the way he played, just relentless and you know, nonstop, and you know, just that's who I wanted to be. I wanted to wear 56. Unfortunately, I never did wear it, but yeah, he's the one that motivated me to be a linebacker.
Now he came off that edge pretty quickly, Darrin.
He wasn't playing. And you couldn't stop him.
Couldn't stop him.
Game changer.
Game changer. With Darrin, brother, you know how I feel about you, man. I appreciate you, all that you do. All the best to you and your family. And let's stay safe, brother. And God bless you. We're gonna we'll keep this thing rolling, Darrin.
Thanks, Gale. I appreciate you as well, man. Love you, my brother.
All right. Love you too, brother. Take it easy.
I will.
All right.
All right.